Man of Steel, otherwise known as Superman, has his first big movie in almost 10 years coming out, which is expected to be amazing. But for today, I wanted to dive into something that's not so amazing about our boy in blue, and that's his video games. Superman is a hero that just can't seem to catch a break when it comes to the realm of gaming. He has had bad game after bad game. But the last time we embarked on this journey, we found a hidden gem, an overlooked classic. Not necessarily a masterpiece, but nonetheless hope for our favorite Boy Scout. As it turns out, Superman's got two games from the first and second generation of Xbox consoles. Superman, the Man of Steel, and Superman Returns. Hey everyone, it's Colin, and let's see if these games are any good at all. Let's jump into the movie tie-in Superman Returns first. By far, this is probably the most ambitious Superman game to date, and it's also the most recent attempt of one to date, back in 2006. This game is almost 20 years old. We have not had a mainline Superman game in almost 20 years. First things first, this game kicks off similar yet different from the movie it's tied into. Superman still goes to try to find Krypton, as there might be some remnants or they might have figured out the planet actually didn't blow up after all. But nope, everyone's dead, the planet's gone. This is where it gets a little different from the movie, as Superman gets captured and taken to the war world where we meet Mongol. So on top of Krypton being blown up, he now has to fight 3 random people. Now this is mainly a weird tutorial after the originally already weird tutorial in the game. There's a tutorial where your dad kind of walks you through what you're doing, but I don't know when it takes place in the timeline of this game because you're back on Earth. But nonetheless, you fight 3 people, you beat Mongol, and you head on back to Earth. This is where you hit Metropolis and get introduced to the worst frame pacing I've ever seen in a 7th generation video game. Not to mention this game had a 6th generation release on the PS2 and original Xbox. If it's struggling here in the 360, I don't even want to know how it performs on those 2 consoles. Although the textures are a little bit better on the 360, but not by much. The game still doesn't look great, like at all. But it does look better than the other versions. So basically, visually and performance-wise, the game's kind of a mess. But the gameplay, well, let's get right to that. The game isn't bad. I do want to start with that, but you do go through a gameplay loop that is pretty repetitive and gets old quick. In this game, Superman doesn't have a health bar, yet the city of Metropolis does. So if the city takes enough damage, then you will lose, and Superman will mourn over the death of several civilians. So in the game, you're either fighting enemies, or blowing out fires on buildings, or fighting enemies. Safe to say there's really not much variety to this game. Metropolis is massive, but it lacks a lot of landmarks that make it so everything else seems pretty samey. The 2 places I did remember from the map on a kid were the Superman statue and the big globe on top of the Daily Planet. Other than that, I still don't remember anything, and I just played it 2 hours ago. There's a whole lot of real estate and a whole lot of nothing in it. Now I will say the scale is very impressive for a 6th, even 7th generation game. But with games like Spider-Man 2 and GTA being on the original Xbox and PS2, those had large worlds that felt a lot more fully fleshed out. And at least in Spider-Man 2's case, that frame rate was rock solid. That being said, you weren't blasting through it at 1,000 miles an hour though. The first third of the game, you're pretty much fighting Metallo, or I should say his goons, the robots. And here and there you're learning what Lex Luthor is plotting. The game falls pretty short when it comes to the hand-to-hand combat side of things. The combos are kind of useless because you'll just find one that's way better than the others and use that one over and over again. But the flight controls and heat vision and stuff, that's actually pretty fun. There's also a Bizarro mode, which is kind of a little spin-off, which is a mini-game essentially where you have to destroy Metropolis. And this mode is a whole lot of fun because it's just like you get to take your anger out with a very overpowered Superman. So that's a pretty nice change of pace from the rest of the game. Also, kind of loops into the main story because when you fight the boss of Bizarro, he's just trying to destroy the city. So Superman's got to go in and save the day. Although that's the same boss fight of pretty much all the other ones too. So it's really not that special when you dive into it. The main enemy or bosses will consist of Mongol, Metallo, Bizarro, Lex Luthor, and a tornado? Overall, this game just isn't great. Flying around the city can be fun because you're going very fast. But overall, there's just a lack of things to do, and the gameplay does get pretty stale. It's not really glitchy or anything, so it doesn't feel super unfinished. It feels like just a good idea that wasn't fully realized. I feel like the city's health bar is actually a good thing for Superman as a character who's so overpowered. And I feel like if this idea got today's fully fleshed out modern superhero game treatment, pretty good game probably could come out of it. But as far as Superman Returns now goes, I really can't recommend it. For example, Spider-Man 3 gets a whole lot of flack for being a pretty bad game and just overall clunky and jank. It has a pretty god-awful reputation. I do want to take a closer look at that game on the channel here, but what I'm trying to say is I would play that game over this one any day of the week. Although that game has its rough edges, it's a lot more interesting and has a better fleshed out story. But with that being said, let's move on to the next Superman game, the Man of Steel. Now, Superman the Man of Steel was an original Xbox exclusive published by Atari, made by Circus Freak. First off, I didn't even know Atari was still around after they were making hardware. And second, I've never heard of Circus Freak. Let's look at their development history real quick. Oh, they've made 2 games. Oh, and this one was the second one, the last one they made. I'm sure it's great, you know, they always say go out with a bang. So they ended on a high note, I bet.
So much for a slow news day.
So other than the voice acting being the worst shit I've ever heard in a video game.
But I'd be calling you Bronx instead of Smallville.
I was thinking Addis Ababa.
Tegucigalpa.
Novosibirsk.
Making Tobey Maguire's performance in Spider-Man 3 look Oscar level, but also just looks absolutely terrible. We know that maybe the Game Boy can save it, and if you believed anything about that statement, then you're sure as hell wrong. This game plays and controls like ass. There really is no other way to put it. Superman sucks to move around in the air, and the 2 times I actually got him on ground, it somehow felt worse. Every time you pick something up, Superman turns into the most slippery man on ice, with the most crazy momentum physics you'll ever experience. Don't forget that every time you beat a level, the most black blank screen with Superman on there will pop up, and you'll hear a robotic chick say, "Mission complete."
Mission complete.
This game might honestly be worse than Superman 64, in which we talked about last time. And that's a really low bar, so not being able to get over it is honestly impressive in itself. I mean, hell, Superman Shadow of Apocalypse came out 2 months before this game, and that was on the PS2 and GameCube. They didn't release it on the Xbox. Why did the Xbox have to get an exclusive Superman game when that one was way better? Not to mention that one was also published by Atari. So I really don't know what they were doing here. But if you do want to hear about a good Superman game, make sure to check out my previous video I did where I go over Shadow of the Apocalypse, because that was a hidden gem. But back to the matter at hand. I won't lie to you, I did not make it very far in this game. It was mind-numbingly bad. I will say I do like the art style that they were trying to style this game off of. Talking about the original art, not whatever the hell this atrocity is. Like, they seriously did the worst job translating it. And there are bosses in the game, but I just didn't get to fight any of them. I was stuck on this damn train mission. The main villain is Brainiac 13, and this whole game takes place in a really futuristic version of Metropolis. Bizarro makes a return here as well, and so does Mr. Mxyzptlk. I don't even know if I pronounced that right. You know, the little old dude, small, purple, top hat, you know what I'm saying. Which he didn't fight in Superman Returns, but he does make you do races and is in charge of like the whole Bizarro side mission stuff I talked about. So that is one thing to note with him. All the normal enemies have colors, signaling what ability of Superman's you have to use. Of course, the colors make no sense though, because purple is heat vision, green is freeze breath, and yellow is melee attacks. Why not just use red and blue for heat vision and freeze breath? I don't feel like it was that hard. The only good thing I have to say about this game is it's one of the only few games that utilizes Superman's X-ray vision. And the overall idea of the game is pretty cool, but the game itself is just soulless. Like seriously, I really want to know why Superman Shadow of Apocalypse didn't get on the Xbox instead of this heaping pile of garbage. I didn't know that this game existed at all, and I would say it's for pretty good reason. It's very forgettable, and it's very bad. There are several bad games I can think of that I'd rather play instead of this, like Sonic 06, Superman 64, Vin Diesel's Wheelman. I don't even know if you guys knew what that one was. Story for another day. Although back in the day it was getting 5 out of 10s, meaning that most reviewers thought the game was mid. That's a very high score for this game, even back then. But I'll stop trashing this game now. Moral of the story is, it's just bad. You'd have to pay me to go back to it and play it again. That being said, that's all the Superman games we'll be looking at today. Moral of the story is just play Injustice or Shadow of Apocalypse, as those are both much better games than what we looked at today. Superman Returns isn't bad, it's just not great. And it typically goes for around 20 bucks on the Xbox 360. It's just hard to recommend it for even that price point. There's way better games you could buy for that. I got it for $2, I think, on the PS2. Sorry, actually it was $3, I had to check. And maybe at this price point, it'd be worth giving a shot. It's a little fun for that. But just stay away from the Man of Steel. Yeah, if you want to watch a video about a good Superman game, and a couple other bad ones, of course, all themed around the DC animated universe, make sure to check out my video from about a year ago, as that's exactly what I did. I'll leave that in the description, as it'll probably pop up at the end of the video in just like 2 seconds here. But yeah, anyways, yeah, that's all I got for you guys today, and thanks for watching this all the way through. Show any love to this video as you want. It helps support me as a small channel, and yeah, I'll see you next time on The Pixel Critic.